Hey guys, time for my Spinal Rapids here. I apologize if the video is a little wobbly. I'm on my phone. I just want to take a quick section to talk about the best wire to use for cages. And spoiler alert, it's that roll right there. So this is 14 gauge wire, which gauge is the thickness, and with metal, the lower the gauge, the thicker it is. But the other key thing about this wire is it's galvanized after welding. So you can see here on the seams where it's, put together, that's where it's been welded. But you see how it's silver and covered with a silver galvanization layer? That means it's going to be way stiffer, and it's going to ensure that the wire lasts longer, because when you weld after you galvanize, you basically burn off all the galvanization. Let's see if it's kind of hard to tell on this cage. I have a cage right here. So anyways, that's the best wire to get. It's super stiff, really strong, hard to work with, but it lasts way longer. So this cage right here is made out of 16 gauge wire, and I can't remember if it's galvanized before or after because it's kind of dirty. But here's the thing about 16 gauge, especially galvanized after. It's not going to last as long. This is mostly what you're going to find in hardware stores or feed stores. It's much more common than 14 gauge, which is pretty specific applications. So if that's all you can get, that's all you can get. You can get this online, though, from Kluberant's Equipment. I can link to it below. That's the best place I've found for getting wire. They don't pay me or anything. That's just my opinion. But if you do only can afford to get 16 gauge, you can somewhat expect this to happen. So what's going on here is because this wire is so much thinner, and it's kind of hard to tell, but if I can just do a side by side, look at that wire, and then look at that wire. You can see that this is so much beefier, even though it's the same pattern, 1 inch by ½ inch. So this wire is incredibly stiff and difficult to work with, but it's going to mean your bottom is solid and it's not going to do this. Additionally, 16 gauge wire wears out so much faster. So you can see it's snapped here, an entire strand popped off here down the end. This is going to rust faster, especially in spots with a lot of urine. And it's just not as nice of a cage material. Additionally, the thinner the wire, the lower the gauge, the higher the gauge, the harder it's going to be on your rabbit's feet. So 16 gauge is the absolute maximum you can go. Any thinner than that, and you're going to be getting sore hocks and it's going to be falling apart. So no hardware cloth, no nothing like that. But if I really recommend, if you can get it, 14 gauge, galvanized after welds. The walls is somewhat more optional. This is here because this is where the feeder goes. That's normal. The walls doesn't matter as much because it's not going to take nearly as much abuse. If you can only afford to do it in one spot, I highly recommend doing the bottom. But if you can do the walls, see, this cage has been made from 16 gauge wire all the way around. You can see how much more, the wave in the walls. The cage, it's good, it's solid, but it's got much less rigidity than if it was entirely made out of 16 gauge like most of my cages are. But during the great wire shortage of last spring when everyone was panicking, this is all I could find, and I needed extra cages at the time. But also, a year later, it's already pretty much crapped the bed on me, and it's going to get swapped out for some higher quality wire. So if you can, do yourself a favor. There's plenty of wire available right now. Invest in the best stuff you can buy, and that's 14 gauge after weld wire. I'll probably make another video showing how to actually assemble a cage at some point whenever I have to make another one. But this pretty much covers it. All I'm going to do right now to fix this is snip off these J-clips all the way around, pull this piece off, cut out the appropriate size piece there with my wire cutters, and J-clip it back on. Anyways, working on part 2 of the Making Money with Meat Rabbit series. Going to be covering breeding stock in that, so keep an eye out for that. Very excited for that. It's going to have a lot of good info. If you haven't already, check out part 1 where I talk about all the nuances of selling meat. It's long, it's just me yakking, but it is worth it. So I will see you guys later, and if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support.